My fiancé, Adam, has 4 kids from his former partners, twin daughters, preschoolers, another daughter, pre-tween, and a son, preschooler. I have a daughter, kindergartner. He would treat all the kids the same till the wedding planning came. He picked his son as the ring bearer and his 3 daughters as flower girls, but had no role for my daughter. I asked if we could add her to be a flower girl just like her stepsisters, but he refused without explaining. He just kept it short, saying no. My daughter heard the girls talking about it and said she wanted to be the flower girl as well, and I brought it up with Adam again. He told me 3 was enough to be flower girls and that there was no spot left for my daughter. I said we could make them 4 and add my daughter. Why not? He said it wouldn't work for some reason. I insisted, and he suddenly snapped and told me it was not a huge deal for me to be so worked up like this. I said my daughter wishes to be among the flower girls and wear and do what they do, and his daughters aren't somehow superior to mine. He gave me a nasty stare and said, "Ha, so this is what it's all about," then told me I was being ridiculous and quite toxic with this my child your child mentality. He insisted that he treats all the kids the same and that he can't believe I'd questioned that over some nonsensical issue as the flower girl. We had a full-blown argument, and he said I was acting immaturely by insisting on making this a big deal and choosing it as a hill to die on. Am I the idiot for choosing this hill to die on? Or am I being unreasonable? For those who are confused about the age of his twin daughters and son, he got both of his exes pregnant at the same time, take or give a few months. He divorced his first ex, then went on to marry the second ex, then later divorced her. Let me get this straight. In the span of 4 to 5 years, this man has gotten his first wife pregnant, cheated on his first wife, possibly while she was pregnant, got the mistress pregnant, divorced the first wife, married the mistress, divorced the mistress, dated and proposed to you successfully? Busy guy. OP, prepare to be cheated on. He has a pattern. Now he's being mean to your daughter for an unspecified reason. Not the idiot. Die on this hill and reevaluate if he's worth marrying. Seriously, just that small bit of history she shared about him would make me run and is a giant red flag. She definitely shouldn't marry this man. He got 2 women pregnant simultaneously, and this is the dude you want to marry? Marry some self-esteem and save your daughter the therapy. Grab your daughter and run. Do not marry this man. If this is how he treats your daughter now, how will he treat her after the wedding? There are 4 little girls. If 4 is too many, then there should only be 2, one of his and one of yours. Why should his 3 get to be a part of the wedding, but your only daughter is not? Why do you not have any say in your wedding? Will you have any say in any decisions after the wedding? Yeah, he's showing you who he is, and your daughter will always come second to his kids. And in what world does he get to make all the wedding decisions anyway? Please, for your and your daughter's sake, break this off. How is this not enough for you to blow off the engagement? What would you say if your daughter, as an adult, brought someone like him home as a partner? Hey mom, this is Greg. He got someone pregnant while he was with his pregnant wife. Then he divorced his wife, married his mistress, then divorced her too. But I want to marry him. Geez, it makes you wonder why his other baby mamas left. This is an absolute example of gaslighting, and he does it knowingly and deliberately. You haven't said how long you 2 have been together, but given his previous relationships and timelines, it can't be more than a couple of years. The honeymoon phase of your relationship can't be far from over. And now he's showing you who he truly is. He hasn't learned anything from his 2 failed marriages, and doesn't value you or your child. Don't make the biggest mistake of your life. Walk away now. Recently, I, female 26, have won quite a lot of money in the lottery. It's not the main prize, it was one of the top 3 though, but it's a life-changing amount in my country. I grew up poor, very poor, and while I worked my way up, my closest family still struggles. I help, but I can't fix everything. Well, I couldn't before. My winnings were recently deposited into my bank account, completely separate from my normal one. I'm not touching that money until I have my meeting with the financial advisors that I hired. I plan to use a small amount of money to enjoy and use part to improve my family's life, e.g. buy them flats that they can later on afford to upkeep, but in a safer place and of better quality. Then invest the vast majority in a different venture to ensure revenue for years to come, so that I can live comfortably and help my family. The only people that know are my closest family and my boyfriend, Andy, 30. We've been together for 7 months, but we don't live together. Andy has different plans. He came up with a list of items he needs and has been pressuring me to get them before I even speak to my advisors. Basically, he wants a new car, stereotypically. He wants something like a Tesla, which he doesn't need. He wants us to move in together, and for me to buy a house with a pool. He's now started talking about kids, blah blah, even though he knows that I'm child-free. I've been refusing every single request, telling him that necessities come first, and that money should be under lock and key until I speak with my financial advisors. Naturally, he's not very happy. He's been calling me a Scrooge, telling me I don't love him anymore, calling me a cheapskate. Worst of all, he now told every one of our friends about this, and they've started pressuring me as well, asking me to fund nights out, etc., and they've been very cruel when I refuse, idiot being almost a compliment. I'm devastated. Am I really an idiot in this situation? Am I the idiot for not wanting to spend frivolously? Not the idiot. Unfortunately, your boyfriend now sees you as an ATM, not a girlfriend. It's not you. It's a sudden influx of money that shows people's true colors. He and your friends will not leave you alone. They will suck you dry of the money and then dump you. I would dump him and block them, then move ASAP. You need new friends. Oh, and you've only been together 7 months? Just 7 months and he just makes demands? Daddy also spread the news of your win. He behaves as if it's his money. Well, I bet he thinks it is his money. It would be best if you ended it. He just sees the money, and he doesn't care about you anymore. Keep the money safe and unload the boyfriend. He'll only get worse. Han, you do not deserve this. He's cunning and selfish. When you would not comply, he told your friends, something you didn't want. His tactics will increase and expand if you don't set a boundary or cut him off. You deserve someone who respects your wishes and is a supportive partner. Congrats. Winnings usually amplify the worst in people's character. Stay true to yourself or you'll regret it. Just my 2-cent advice. Since you sound like a generous person, if I was in your shoes, I'd start figuring out who's sincerely asking for help and who's asking for what they want and will always want more. I also wouldn't buy my family houses because they might want more and more, and you'll only get scorn from them for not doing more, even if you give in to them until you're bankrupt. Good luck, because life is gonna change. I, 29 male, had a kid, my daughter, with my ex-wife 32 10 years ago, and there's no real way to sugarcoat this. But as soon as she was born, I left, and I never ended up seeing her in the hospital as a baby. I was never really present in her life at any point, but I ended up getting a divorce 11 months later, with her getting full custody, of course. I married young, was really stupid, and thought I'd end up being a good dad, despite having no skills. But I got scared that I'd turn out like my dad and chickened out. Not really an excuse, but an explanation, I guess. I paid child support for the first 3 years, but stopped afterward. I've been speaking with the girl's mother about reconnecting with her, but she thinks I should stay out of their lives. But I think making amends is always possible, so I'm not sure. I want to make things right, but I will respect their decision. I've seen her a few times, but her mother's always introduced me as a friend. She says she will tell him when she's ready. I've been dating a girl, 28, for about 10 months, and I really like her. I think I could see a life for us. And I know that sounds weird, but she's also said the same. I also spoke to my daughter's mother about meeting this girl, but she says absolutely not, and that's a bad idea. But if I want to reintroduce her into my life, isn't it fair that she gets to see my life too? Am I the idiot for this? Her mother says it's a terrible idea, so it's making me think that I am, but I just genuinely cannot see why. Obviously, I care for this girl and I will care for her life too, but a relationship has to be two-sided. I don't think it's out of the question to show her my life too. You are the idiot. You're not her father. You are a stranger to your daughter. You paid support for 3 years, which means for 7 years the mother's been alone, even financially. You don't get to walk back in because you have a girlfriend you think you might be with forever. This child isn't a relationship device. She's a human whose life and feelings matter more than you and your selfish desire to make amends. Try therapy to deal with your daddy issues before marriage and having children with this new woman. Why did you stop paying child support? Why haven't you started paying again? Sounds like OPO's 7 years worth of child support before he gets any say. After that, it's still going to be a long prove it that he's serious about being in his kid's life. The obvious conclusion is that his only motivation here is to con this new girl into thinking he's a halfway decent person, or at least not someone who will do to her and her potential child what he did to his ex and hers. The fact that he's clearly only interested in the child as a human prop to deceive his girlfriend and doesn't register the emotional harm that would do to the child pretty solidly indicates that he would likely do it again. Precisely, he knows she'll eventually find out he has a kid and knows that once she realizes that he ran out on the woman and child as soon as the birth happened and even stopped making payments 3 years in, she'll know what a selfish jerk he is. Your daughter isn't some trophy to show off. I 30 female have a set of triplets. Their father's supposed to get them every other weekend, but he rarely gets them. Maybe once every few months if he has a girlfriend he's trying to impress. So my daughters are mixed. I'm very particular about how they look most of the time. If we go out in public, I make sure they look good, I make sure their hair is done, and they have very nice dresses. 99% of the time if someone sees my girls, they look magazine-worthy. However, they are toddlers and you just don't put on a pretty dress on them when they go to the park to play. I had taken them to get their pictures made for Christmas and after we went to the park because they deserved a reward for being so good. So, I changed them into some really warm rompers and coats. They also had hats and gloves. They weren't nasty or anything, but playing in dresses in the winter is just a no. They needed warm play clothes. Max called and asked what we were doing and I told him we were headed to the park. He wanted to see the girls, so I told him to meet us at the park. I assumed he would be alone and I kind of assumed he wouldn't show up at all because it was very out of character for him. He showed up with a woman and a child. He immediately got angry with me because the girls weren't wearing pretty clothes. They were wearing winter play clothes. He also complained that one of the girls' hair looked a little messy. She's a toddler and messes with her hair, so of course it's messy. Also, she was wearing a winter hat so you could barely see her hair anyway. I told him no, I wasn't going to put them back in their dresses and I wasn't going to keep fixing her hair just for her to take it down again. It's stressful for her and me. She was happily playing and didn't care at all. Anyway, he was very angry and I'm not sure if I was being the idiot or not. The woman he came with apologized to me for his behavior and I told her not to worry about it. Added to add, he's always been particular about outward appearances. He's always clean-shaven and meticulous about his hair and clothing. Nothing can be even slightly dirty or messy. So, I wasn't that surprised he immediately was upset about their appearances. Not the idiot. He doesn't help you with the triplets, but then shows up out of the blue just to criticize your parenting. I'd remind him that they have 2 parents and he's welcome to be involved with dressing them and doing their hair anytime he likes. I hope this idiot is paying child support. He villainizes you for taking care of your child. Yes, of course it's a good idea to risk my children getting hypothermia to impress a man who doesn't care about them. Whoever that man is, he's a wretch and a leech. He only wishes to impress based on living, breathing beings with feelings that care and cherish. He uses living children to show and tell for his new flame every other week, which is gross. But ultimately, he fails when he can't keep up the perfect parent facade in front of his newest prey, a mother who sees right through it. And he was being so rude that a woman he brought along, possibly his girlfriend, who you'd never met before, felt compelled to apologize to you, his ex, for his behavior. Wow, how many more barrels can he scrape the bottom of? Then tell him he can dress them how he likes the next time he bothers to pick them up for his appointed weekend. My wife lost her mother to cancer 2 years ago. It was horrible and it took a toll on everyone, but obviously my wife more than anything. They were very close, pretty much best friends. We knew it was coming and the illness took over our lives, which is to be expected. I also knew my wife would struggle when she finally did pass, so I tried to convince her to go to therapy, but she refused. We have 2 older children, a young teen and a young child, and this year she gave birth to our youngest. This is the only grandchild my mother-in-law never got to meet. The whole pregnancy was very bittersweet and my wife kept saying, "I wish Mom was here. I wish Mom could meet him, etc." Again, to be expected. But the issue has come up that even before our son was born, every event went back to her mom. At first I understood, but it's become like we have this cloud hanging over us, preventing us from fully enjoying happy moments. I've tried talking to my wife about it gently, but she gets super defensive and refuses to even talk about therapy. Our oldest became a teen over the weekend. She had spoken to her mom privately and said she'd like for there to be no talk of her grandmother. She wanted a happy celebration and to not get sad that her grandmother wasn't there. My wife agreed. We went out to dinner and everything was fine. Towards the end, we had cake. My wife said, "It's just so sad that grandma can't be here. She'd be so proud of who eldest has turned out to be. I wish she could be here." Our eldest got mad. She blew out her candles, but didn't speak for the rest of the dinner. When we got home, I spoke to my wife privately and said what she did wasn't fair. I said she could have excused herself if she was that emotional, but she honestly didn't seem to be. I told her that this couldn't continue to happen. She told me that wasn't fair. I said what isn't fair is this rain cloud she forces over us. She's been off ever since and won't really talk to me or our eldest. She's saying that we are insensitive. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife needs grief counseling. She's the idiot. Your child just had her entrance into being a teenager made about death by her mother. It's not about her grandma. It's not about your wife. It's about your kid, and she was denied that. So, your wife is being insensitive, not you or your child. Yeah, the wife's grief is very understandable, but it seems like she's tainting the memory of grandma for her daughter and for the rest of the family. It's enough of a constant situation that your daughter, who's only a young teen, literally asked her in advance not to do this one time for her own birthday celebration, and your wife wouldn't do it. It's obviously a problem. And just to point out, even if she refuses to get therapy, that doesn't mean the rest of you can't. You may have to learn coping strategies or ways to redirect. I don't get this take. Why should the rest of the family, who by all accounts seem to be doing fine, be the ones who have to put all the effort in to tiptoe around mom, who refuses to get help for her parent issues? It's been 2 years. 2 years of OP trying to tell her to get help, and of the kids hearing about their dead grandma on every special occasion. The person who needs help is the person creating the problem. Why should they have to figure out how to redirect their mom's behavior? Their kids. Final ending of first sighting, part 1 in description or comment down below. A month later, I have been doing a lot of thinking about exposing the affair to her family. I had been advised by my lawyer to hold off while we had the PI out gathering evidence. Now that we have solid proof of the affair, I was planning on not saying anything until STBX was served with my response to her petition. My response includes a request for admissions, and we state many things that she must either admit or deny. I was hoping this would be the nuclear strike that she won't see coming. Now that the paperwork has been filed by me, it may take weeks for her to get served. I am considering going ahead and talking to her family now just to get it out there. It may take some of the sting of her being hit with the response, but it will also catch her off guard if I talk to them first, so she won't have time to build up a story about her and I know we are all thirsty for blood. But I just don't want to jump on the exposure too soon. I have been waiting a month gathering evidence and keeping quiet, so I don't want to ruin it now, but the paperwork has been filed, so she is going to get it sooner or later anyway. I am just wrestling with this and looking for any input on how to approach the exposure. I was thinking that if I talk to them before she gets the papers, I won't go into detail of what she is going to be served. I will just tell them that I have evidence of the affair going back for months and let them figure it out. That way STBX will be aware that I know, but still will be shocked at the depth and extent of the statements in our response. Then I get a call from STBX. First time we've spoken in 2 months. I grab my recorder and answer the call. Right off the bat she asks if I would like to get together with her and the kids for dinner tonight. I told her I don't think that's a good idea. She goes on to say that she has been thinking a lot and really misses having the kids every day. She then asks if I would be open to returning to marriage counseling. I say no. Then we talk for about 20 minutes and I tell her how much what she did hurt me, but that I am getting through it and am becoming happier in my new life each day. I asked her if other man dumped her and that's why she's crawling back, and she said it's not about that. I also told her that with all of her lies and manipulation in the last few months that a 20-minute I'm sorry phone call is not going to work. I told her that we need to let the court system work and keep the status quo. And I politely hung up. She texted me 5 minutes later asking to please consider counseling with her. I did not respond. I assume she got served and saw that I am not playing around. We sent the request for admissions right off the bat, and it listed 27 statements about her affair, irresponsibility with kids, and her prescription abuse. I knew it would scare her, but I had no idea she would react this fast. Thanks so much to all the guys here on the forum who have helped me prepare for this point. I could literally feel the power shifting through the phone. Now I call the shots and things are on my terms. It has been a rough few months and I've spent a good bit of money on lawyers and PIs, but this is what I was going for. We now hold all the cards for negotiations. She is weak and will be agreeable to almost anything right now. My lawyer is working on a script and I will call STBX back in a few days with some options. All favorable to me. Then we will see how sorry she really is. My attorney says the recorded convo and recordings of her dropping kids off at my house is plenty of evidence that RO is false. I am not going to ask her to remove RO, going to see if judge signs my demand to remove it. She has not said anything about being sorry for what she has done, and I believe it's because she is scared. I am recording everything if that could be used as an admission of guilt against her. Still trying to figure out her parents. Her mom texted me last night a picture with a quote about love, marriage, etc. I ignored it. I believe all STBX is telling them is that she misses kids and wants back in. I will make sure they know everything. I am full steam ahead on the D train. If there is any slight chance of RO, it will be after the divorce filing. I am not swayed by one 20 minutes phone call with fake remorse after being caught. I have a lot of leverage now as we get closer to hearing. She has to respond to the request for admissions within 15 days of served. She will probably ramp up the R-talk to keep from having to answer and put the affair on record. I am not changing course until we get to the first hearing. 1 month later, last week she had contacted me a few times about different things, mostly revolving around our son starting school. I could tell she was very meek and fishing for ways to keep the conversations going. She did make an appointment with our MC and followed through with showing up to the appointment yesterday. The MC is a lady that I have been seeing as an IC. We went to a different MC right after D-Day. But I was not satisfied with his work. My IC is a licensed marriage family therapist, so she was fine with STBX coming to a session. We both went in together and sat down, and the counselor asked why we were here together. And I let STBX start talking. I was very happy with the way the counselor steered the meeting and kept it on the task of why STBX had an affair. STBX was very humble and to my surprise did not make excuses or try to justify her behavior. She did mention that things were not great in the marriage leading up to the affair, and I have to agree with her. The therapist was quick to point out that it still was not an excuse to step out of the marriage. We dove in at first to the affair, and I said that she had never even acknowledged the affair to me. She finally did, and she said she was ashamed and sorry. I asked her why it ended, and she said because OM wanted to get serious and she realized that she didn't want that. She said she still sees him occasionally at work, but it is all business. She even mentioned that there is a school in our area that will have an opening for a teacher in her subject at the end of this year. She said she understands that this is on her and that she has to be the one to show remorse and prove that she is trustworthy again. I told her that I appreciated everything she said and that I don't know if I can ever get over what she has done to me and our family. I said I would be open to further conversations, if only to find out if I can live with what has happened. I told her that there may be too much water under the bridge for us to ever be together again. I was honest with her, and I said that there is nothing more I would like than for us to be together again and raising our kids in a happy home. But I also said that I don't know if I can do that knowing what she has done. So we are still moving forward with the divorce. As I mentioned in my earlier post, we should be filing our consent judgment this week, which settles everything but community property. She asked me afterwards if I would like to continue MC, and I told her that I would be open to it for a few more sessions. She seemed to show remorse, but I am very wary of her apologies because I have heard them before. I plan on keeping the distance we have had lately and watching her actions. I don't know if there is a chance for us to ever be together again, but I feel like I have taken the right steps to prepare myself either way. She has come clean about the affair. I haven't asked for the bloody details yet, but it is coming. Last night she came by to see the kids and I asked her on the spot to call OM and tell him that it's over. She told me she had already had that conversation with him. I told her I needed to hear it, She called him on speakerphone right in front of me. She told him that there is no more relationship with him and that they have to work together, but it stays 100% professional. She told him that her priority is getting back with me and being a family again. He said, "I understand, I thought we already covered this. I wish you the best." So that made me feel like she had already talked to him about it. It was nice of her to do that in front of me, but I did not get the satisfaction from it that I thought I would. I just don't know about this whole process. I feel like I had moved on from this mess and now I am going back to having to verify all of her stories, etc. I remember what those days were like and I'm not sure if I can go through that again. About a month ago I was doing pretty good. I realized that this D was not what I wanted, but I was beginning to accept it. I bought new furniture, moved the rest of STBX's stuff out, and took a vacation. I was finally beginning to detach. Then STBX started sniffing around again, and I was very cautious. We did a few things together with the children and I must admit it was nice for everyone, but I believe that she was just testing to see if she could still keep me as plan B. We have gone to 2 MC sessions the last 2 weeks but have no more scheduled. It seems like the easy stuff, family time, was great, but when STBX started having to answer the hard questions, she has fallen back into her old ways. I don't have any proof of her with OM, but I also know she isn't volunteering to spend time with me. I have learned that when I don't hear from her, it usually means she's up to something. She is not the kind to just sit around the house watching soap operas. Like someone said before, it's like 2 knife fighters circling. One of us steps forward and does something nice, then we have a few good days, then it is back to silence for a few days. I could take that. If it wasn't for the OM, I have to think that he is still in the picture. And they definitely see each other at work every day. It seems to me that she knows my biggest hurdle right now is trust. And when she doesn't have the kids, she does nothing to let me know where she is or what she's doing. That would be the first thing I would do if I were in her shoes. The more I think about it, the more I see her trying to make me plan B. I think she feels like she can come home anytime and I will just rug sweep it for her. This was pretty clear after our first MC session 2 weeks ago. She fessed up pretty good in there, but ever since then she has tried to make it look like I can't let it go. We have only brought up the affair twice outside of counseling. Sure, the family dinners are nice, but when she started having to deal with the consequences of her actions, NC call, timeline, etc., she started baffling. This shows me she cannot do the heavy lifting needed to make this marriage work for the long haul. I truly believe deep down she knows she can come back on her terms and that I will take her back right before the divorce is finalized. She is stringing me along right now and there is really nothing I can do about it other than stop contact with her. The only remaining hurdle left legally is the CP settlement. She has already signed off on custody, visitation, and support, so she really has no consequences since she filed for divorce. I can't use the threat of D to wake her up. I am starting to realize what others have said earlier, that at the end of this whole drama, she may not be the prize that I thought she was. It's more like I am fixated on winning this battle and not letting her call the shots. I know that is a skewed way to look at it, but it's honestly how I feel. I got a favorable custody and support agreement, and I am happy about that. But the feeling of rejection stings me to the core. Well, after a week or so of NC by me, STBX came over last night after the kids went to bed. She was broken down crying, saying she knows she messed up and all she wants is for us to be together again. She made a similar phone call earlier in the week and I stayed distant. She came over and acknowledged her mistakes and said that she knows that I don't owe her anything. She said that I am the one that she wants and that she was very hurt and confused and thought the only way out was divorce. I explained to her that she had many options other than the route she took and she said she knows that. She offered to change jobs at the end of the year to get away from other man. I told her that I have zero trust in her right now and that takes time to get back. She said she understands that and is more than willing to be accountable at all times. I said, then I need to see your phone right now. She let me look and there were no texts or calls to other man, and there were a few between her and one of her toxic friends back in August about doing something together with friend's husband and other man. She said that is the last time she has seen him outside of work. I checked her FB page and she has blocked other man, as well as blocked his number from contacting her phone. She had an email set up on her phone and it was clean. She had no advance warning that I was going to ask, so I do feel a level of comfort to believe that it is over with other man. I told her that I really don't know what I want. I said that a lot has already been done and that we can never get back to how it was when we first married. She understood that. She also brought up that we had problems in our marriage before the infidelity. And I agreed. I told her that she did not let us start to work on those problems because she ran off so quick and filed the RO. She said she filed the RO because her friends at work told her it was easy for a woman to file it and it would give her space from me. I told her that it was a huge deal to me and not something I would forget. She apologized for that. I feel like her apologies are sincere and that she is taking ownership of what she has done. Now I have the tough task of deciding if I want to start a relationship back with her. I honestly don't know. And I told her that it could be great, but it could also just be a temporary high that lasts until she gets bored and finds another other man. I told her I can't go through this again. I am very cautious about moving towards any RO with STBX. I agree that she has done terrible things and no matter what she does in the future to make amends, that what has already been done may be too much to live with. Right now, I am taking it one day at a time. We went to MC last week and STBX has been showing more and more remorse. She read the book How to Help Your Spouse Deal with Your Affair. She said that a lot of things in there hit home to her. I asked to see her phone and counseling and she gave it to me as well as her email, Facebook passwords. Everything came back clean. Of course, I know she could have wiped out anything incriminating and probably did, but I have the passwords now for future verification and I can get the PI back on her in a moment's notice. Right now, I am not that far into even worry about it. I am still an IC for myself because no matter which way this goes, I feel like I have come a long way personally and I honestly don't know if I want to subject myself to living with being suspicious all the time. I will say that us having 2 kids together really clouds this whole picture. A month later, I thought things may have been moving towards an attempt at R. We had spent a good bit of time together over the last 2 weeks. Family dinners with kids, taking them around town together to run errands, even Halloween costume shopping together. We went to MC last week and went to dinner alone together before our session. We had talked about doing things without the kids to try and get the spark back in our relationship. We both thought the dinner went well and were looking forward to more occasions like that. I was very cautious but beginning to think that we may be able to salvage our marriage. Last night she called and we made small talk for a bit and then she hit me with it. She has enjoyed spending more time together and that she thinks it's more because she is able to see the kids more. She said as hard as she has tried, she just doesn't have feelings for me. She said she wants us to be able to communicate and be civil for the kids, but that she doesn't ever see us together in the future. I told her that I can't make her see things any differently and I wish her the best. I told her it's not what I wanted, but that I wasn't going to beg her to stay if she didn't feel right. I did tell her that I think it was a lousy effort on her part, 2 weeks of family nights and 1 marriage counseling session and she is ready to throw it all away. She didn't like that. She said, "At least I'm telling you now rather than stringing you along for a few more months." I told her that I wasn't angry but I was just hurt and that I had done all I can do and if it wasn't enough then it's time to move on. I told her I would find somebody better. She said that if I'm going to be mean then she was going to hang up. I then said, "Just don't make up any more stories to your parents about me hitting you, etc." She hung up on that one. Haven't heard from her since. I guess I knew all along that we weren't going to make it, but I always figured it would be that she was cake eating with other man underground and I would find out. Not that she would straight up say that she's not in love with me and that she doesn't ever see that getting any better. I told her I thought we would work on that in counseling and she didn't say anything. So, I am back to where I was a couple of months ago, but now reality is sinking in. I always thought that she would come back and we would be a family again, but now I see that that is not going to happen. I am stunned again like I was on D-Day. My mind is racing thinking about the future and how our kids' lives will be affected. I think I am a good dad, but raising a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl can be very tough, especially for a single dad. I think I have done well the last few months during our separation, but I always had the thought that it was only temporary. The finality of this is starting to hit me and I feel devastated. I have been doing the 180 for months, but I kind of let my guard down the last couple of weeks to try to see if I could are with her. Now for her to end it like this just leaves me dumbfounded again. I just don't get it at all. 1 week ago, from today we went to dinner and then to MC. Her mom watched the kids, and the next morning her mom texted me how excited STBX was when she got home, and that she was bragging on me. I think that she liked the idea of being a family again, but she just couldn't do the heavy lifting. I don't think I asked a lot of her, just to be honest with me and to cut ties with other men and the toxic friends. She seemed to have a problem with the friends because she said those were her support group. She skipped out on a GNO last Friday night to be with me and the kids, and I guess she got scared thinking she would have to give that up forever. I made it clear that until she earned some trust back that I would be very wary of any GNO. All along I have been the only one who ever held her accountable for what she is doing. Her parents, friends, and certainly OM have not made her accountable. So rather than own up to it, she just shuts me out and pretends nothing is wrong with her. I told her how much it hurt me to think of our children's future and that I felt she never put much effort into it from the beginning. Funny thing is that today I thought I would be broken down and a zombie. But I have actually been okay, keeping busy at work, and almost feel a sense of relief. Had a good IC session last night and she helped hammer home that I did all I could do and it's not about me, it's about her. I just finished lunch now resting on the couch watching some football. It was a pretty good weekend. I did not have the kids, so I went to a buddy's house Friday after work and helped him do some work in his man cave. Yesterday I got up early and took a nice jog. It's funny, in the last couple of weeks when STBX and I have been spending more time together, I got away from my workout routine. Now I'm getting back on it and am scheduled to run another 5K in 2 weeks. I ran some errands around town and just tried to take my mind off of things. I feel like I know where I need to be, but I am still feeling down at times, especially right when I wake up in the empty house. One of the biggest hurts for me is that she chose the other man over me. I guess it's a guy thing. I feel like everything is a competition. It hurts me to think she could be happier with someone else rather than with me. I know that she isn't such a great prize, but I guess the rejection still stings. Funny thing, she texted me a picture of our daughter this morning. She fixed her hair a different way and wanted me to see it. I thought it was kind of weird for her to send that. I didn't even respond. I'm trying to detach as much as possible. One thing I am going to start doing is calling and talking to the kids each night before they go to bed on her nights with them. They are only 4 and 2, but I think it will do them good to hear from me every day. We haven't done that in the last, it was always when they were with her. She had them all the time and vice versa. I was just worried that she would take that as me trying to keep in contact with her. But I think now that she knows it will just be about the kids, during our 2 weeks of spending more time together. We kissed twice. The first time we were on the couch at my place watching TV, and we were talking and holding hands. I leaned in and we had a few deep kisses. She actually cried afterwards, saying she never thought she would get to kiss me again. Then a few days later we had gone to MC together and she came by the house to help put the kids to bed. We kissed deeply again. It's funny, when she called to tell me she's not in love with me, one of the things she mentioned was that when we kissed, she didn't feel anything. She said she tried very hard to feel something and it's not there. So she knows it's over. She is in a fantasy land. I guess she was expecting fireworks to go off and the choir to start singing when she kissed. I guess other man just does it for her. It's kind of a shot to the ego. But I mean, come on, are we 16 years old here still tingling from our first kiss? At this point, all I can do is shake my head. I intend to go dark now. I think I stirred up the hornet's nest with the phone call to STBX's sister last week. She called STBX today and straight up asked her if she was dating OM. STBX said that they were seeing each other over the summer, but it ended when school started. Sister-in-law then called both parents and told them that they are being lied to and have been made to look like fools to everyone for defending STBX. Sister-in-law went into a lot more detail, but that's the gist of it. I know it doesn't mean much at this point, but at least I have someone in her family that is not buying all of STBX's bullcrap. I think it's safe to say that Thanksgiving may be a little uneasy at their house. Time to go back to NC. To be honest, at this point, she has been keeping OM nearby all along. So I am willing to let him have her. They won't last 6 months now that they don't have to sneak around. I'm sure he sees the dollar signs that she will get in our CP settlement, but he will soon realize how hard it is to make her happy. My therapist said yesterday that this is how she operates. Tells herself she's in love, goes all in that he is the best guy in the world, then gets tired of him and dumps him while telling her family that he was never that good of a guy to begin with. I guess I just got the most out of her because we were married for 5 years with 2 kids. I doubt our next relationship makes it a year. Weeks later, I went out of town this past weekend. It was homecoming at my old college, so I went back and saw a lot of old friends. We all went out after the football game, and I was able to close the deal with a divorced friend of a friend. I have to say it was nice to have a girl actually make me feel good. She wasn't anything special, but we were both looking for the same thing and we found it several times. Lol. She works with a friend of mine's wife, and he texted me this morning saying that she was telling the girls at work that she hasn't been ducked like that in a long time. I must admit that made me feel good. Got to start getting back in the game. I have an appointment with my IC today. She has been on vacation for 2 weeks, so it will be nice to talk to her again. Lately I have been talking almost the whole hour without her saying anything, but it's nice to just vent sometimes. I have my eyes on a girl here locally that I would like to ask out at some point, but I want to make sure I'm ready, so I don't mess it up by starting too soon. Not much new to report this week. Very little contact with STBX, only texting. She sends me a text just about every day on something concerning kids. I wait a minimum of an hour before I respond, sometimes not even responding at all. My lawyer is supposed to be in touch with hers concerning our community property settlement. My side worked up a pretty good proposal. Fair but a little slanted towards me. Hopefully we hung enough red meat out there that she will take it and not want to start fighting over every little item. Still working on detaching, it's a very tough road. Some days are great, and then some days I sink back into the why me and mine movies routine. I just keep going back to the fact that she is skating around any and all consequences, and I am left to try to put my life back together. Not fun. Now to the rough part. Today is my day with the children, and our daughter is in daycare today, and my son's school is closed due to the elections taking place. He is able to go to daycare with his sister on days when school is closed. STBX is a teacher, and she is also off today because of the closure. In the waiting room, she mentioned bringing our son back to daycare after the appointment, and I said that she could just keep him for the day and I could meet her somewhere on my way home from work to get him. While on my way back to work after the appointment, she called me and said that she is going to take him to eat lunch, then bring him to daycare because she is meeting some people and cannot change her plans. I was very disappointed to hear that, but I held my tongue. We talked about custody plans for Thanksgiving, because our son is having his tonsils taken out the Friday before the holiday week. I am due to have them that Friday through Wednesday, and she gets them Wednesday until school starts. She asked if we could flip that around because she would be off of school and could take him earlier in the week, and I could have them for Thanksgiving Day and not have to miss work. She also said that she would like to bring him home from the hospital after his tonsil surgery. I said that's too bad. I am scheduled to have him after surgery, so I will be the one to take him home. I also said that I can take a few days off of work around Thanksgiving during my days to have them. Then I made the comment that I will actually keep them with me on those days rather than ship them off to daycare on my day off. That set her off. She said I had no right to say that and it was unfair. I said I was disappointed that she would rather do her own thing than keep our son for a few extra bonus hours. She then said she was working at school with some other science teachers this afternoon and couldn't change it. Earlier it was meet some friends. She said that it wasn't even her day and that she had already made these plans and that I could just get the kids from daycare on my way home like normal. I said, well, tell that to our son when you drop him off, that you would spend time with him, but it isn't your day. She got very mad and called me every name in the book. I just said that I think it is terrible that she does not take advantage of a few extra hours, but it's not my problem to worry about anymore. I said, have a good day, and maybe I made too big a deal about her bringing our son back to daycare. Maybe I should have just let it slide. But it disappoints me that she wouldn't want to take advantage of some extra time with him. But maybe I was upset that she had other plans, and that's why I got so frustrated. I didn't raise my voice, but I think she could feel that I was pissed. But in her mind, that is just me acting like her parent and being controlling. I went out on a blind date last Saturday night with a friend of a friend. We met at a local bar and had a few drinks and talked for a while. We had a good time. I asked if I could see her again, and she said yes. We are meeting at another restaurant tonight. One thing I felt after meeting her was that I am not ready for this. I don't know if it is that I don't want to put myself out there and meet new people, or if it's this particular girl that I'm not feeling, or what it is. I know it is relatively early to start dating again, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. I don't know how I feel about her yet, and I didn't feel the fireworks going off when I left our date the other night. I have been out of the game so long, I don't know how I should be feeling. Lol. I don't want anything serious, but I think it's nice to be able to get dressed up and be social again. Sometimes I feel like I have to drag myself out the door, but I am working on it. 1 month later. Last week the kids and I were putting up our tree, and my son mentioned something about the tree at other man's house. That was the second time that week that he had said something about other man's house. The first time I just let it go. My kids had not mentioned anything about being there for several months, but when he said something about his Christmas tree, that told me that they have been over there recently. There is nothing legally I can do to stop it but STBX, and I agreed not to expose the children to significant others until after the divorce. I should have known she wouldn't follow it, but I guess to actually hear it made it sting a little. I sent her a text saying that our son has now mentioned being at other man's house twice this week, and I am very disappointed that she didn't follow our agreement. She didn't respond. I may have been looking for a fight a little bit, and I know I am supposed to be detached and not fight with her, but I have been wanting to get that off my chest for a while. For some reason I wanted to tell her that I think she is a horrible person. So I did. I'm sure it's just more fuel for her to go cry on other man's shoulder and let him continue to play the rescuer. My biggest issue through all of this has been the fact that her parents still are oblivious to the whole idea of other man. They don't want to know the truth or ask the hard questions. They would rather believe that she is home alone healing from her abusive marriage, but she is really over at other man's playing house. But I learned that her parents have chosen their lens to view things through, and me calling or emailing them every time other man is mentioned will just make me look petty. I realized that they have been together all along. I actually have been taking pretty good care of myself. I have been on several dates and am enjoying the company of the women. Nothing serious. But I'm meeting lots of new girls, and it's amazing how much more of a world is out there besides STBX. The few girls I have met are so much more mature than she was. I hope to get to the point where I don't have to worry about STBX anymore. I would love to just take the attitude that she is OM's problem now. Good luck in your little school. I am getting there slowly, but like my therapist says, in the big picture, I am still only a few months removed from having my world turned upside down. It's not going to happen overnight. I am working on detaching. I think I am moving in the right direction. I don't see my arguing with her via text as hanging on to her more like that. I don't feel the need to hold my tongue with her, and will start speaking my mind if the time is right. She actually started that particular conversation where I would usually ignore at this time. I took the opportunity to tell her what I thought of her. 3 months later, STBX and I are past the 10-month mark of the required 12-month separation before divorce. Ever since the beginning of the new year, she has been contacting me quite a bit. I have learned not to listen to her words, but to watch her actions. I have also learned not to invest anything emotionally in her until I feel comfortable doing so. During the New Year's holiday, she took the kids on vacation with her sister's family and their parents. They were up in a cabin in the mountains for a week. She began calling me when they got home and saying that she really hit bottom on vacation because she had a lot of time to think about the last year, and she was also around her family and had to be accountable. I told her I was glad she felt that way and that she needed to go to IC. She agreed and began going on her own in January. During her therapy sessions, she revealed to her counselor and later to me that she has been dealing with an eating disorder since middle school. She said it comes and goes over the years, but ever since our youngest child was born, 2.5 years ago, it has escalated. That jives with her eating habits the last couple of years and excessive exercising and weight loss. I told her I was glad she finally admitted her problem and that she should get help, not for me or us, but for herself and the kids' sake. She began seeing a nutritionist along with a therapist to begin getting things under control. One thing I told her early on was that no eating disorder, obsessions, etc. was any excuse to have an affair. She agreed and said she knows that was a terrible choice, but she felt that I was always going to hold her accountable, and so she wanted to run as far away from me as possible. She said she broke it off with OM before Christmas and that she wanted to be alone for a while and think about her choices. One thing her therapist and nutritionist both recommended was that she goes to an inpatient treatment center for her eating disorder. They feel that the ED is the root cause of her other problems. They feel that if she can learn cope with things in a healthy way and learn to feel better about herself and not punish herself for eating certain foods, that she can begin to repair her self-image. She admitted that she took the meds in order to suppress her appetite, and then she had to take a drink and a downer at night in order to combat the high from the meds. She would pass out at night and then start all over in the morning. This week she began the admission process to an ED treatment center that is about an hour away from where we live. She is scared, but she feels that she has to do it in order to get her life back on track. I stress to her not to do it to try and make me happy, but to get herself healthy so she can be a good mother to our kids no matter what happens between the two of us. She told me her biggest obstacle in all of this is accountability. She says that I know her better than anyone and that I will hold her accountable while her friends and even her own parents will not. It took her 10 months to realize that holding someone accountable is not being controlling. She said she wants to show that she can be accountable. She took a day off of work last week and met with 5 different principals at new schools, hoping to start at a new school this fall. She switched her phone number back to our family account. It was still active, so I can monitor her calls, texts. She showed me where she has blocked OM and other friends' numbers on her phone. I appreciate everything she is doing, and I am also very wary of her intentions. I want to believe her, but I also have been burned enough to be skeptical. I will admit that this is the most she has ever done, and she seems genuine in her attempt to get clean. I have not given her much from my end as far as emotional attachment or support. I tell her that I will do anything I can for her as long as she continues to get help. Right now, she is working with the treatment center and insurance company for admission and is hoping to get there as soon as next week. A month or 2 later, as far as divorce reconciliation, we are working on things together. She has been in an inpatient treatment center for her eating disorder for the last 3 weeks. We meet twice a week for counseling sessions in-house, and she also meets with her once a week for counseling. She seems to be making good progress, and we have spent more time talking in the last 3 weeks than we have in the last 2 years. She is scheduled to be released next Friday if she continues to do well in treatment. She is totally meds-free and has not had a drink in 3 weeks since she entered treatment. She has also not been able to exercise and has been steadily gaining weight to get back into a healthy range. As far as stopping the divorce, my lawyer advised me that it would be smart to let the 1 year of separation pass, 2 more weeks to go, and then we would have 1 year to file for final divorce or terminate the petition. She would terminate her petition today if I wanted her to, but I didn't want to be this close to a year and then terminate it and have to start all over if they are proved to be false. I have talked to my lawyer about my options. She said we can divorce and then remarry if things work out, or we can terminate the petition once the year is up. My lawyer suggested that we let the year separation continue, then file a post-nuptial agreement before she moves back in. She said this is cheaper than a divorce, remarry with prenup, and it will be blessed by both attorneys and be just as binding as a prenup. My lawyer will put clauses in there to protect me and my business assets as separate property in case of a divorce. My WW is on board and said she will sign anything I ask her to. The conversations we have in counseling show that she now has a grasp on how devastating her actions were. To be honest, I still don't know how I feel about her intimately because of the affair, but she has done everything above and beyond to show that she is remorseful and wants to be a part of our family again. At some point it will be a leap of faith for me to ask her to move back in. Then the hard work will start of us rebuilding trust and building a new marriage that we can both be happy in, through the last year of counseling and learning about myself in the divorce process. I am confident that I will be able to make the right decision. 3 months later, as for me and Miso, we are officially in R. She spent 30 days in a rehab clinic to deal with an eating disorder. And while she was in there, they also go her off of all. She worked through a lot of deep-rooted family issues while there, and we are still working through them. An MC part of her release plan was that she has to attend individual therapy once a week and see a nutritionist once a week. She has done both all diligently with the exception of 1 or 2 weeks if the schedule wouldn't allow it. She and I go to MC once a week, and the therapist is the same one that I saw and I see for the last year. She is very good and holds SO's feet to the fire. She works in the same office as the nutritionist, so they are able to talk and compare notes. As for us, we are doing pretty good. I trust but verify everything she has done, and it all turns up clean. During our counseling, I have realized that the affair was only a small part of the mental and emotional problems she was dealing with. Of course, it was the biggest issue for me, but she has had no issue with NC with other men. I still trigger on certain things and I usually let her know and she tries to learn from it so we don't run into the same triggers over and over again. It is a lot more work dealing with the depth of her eating disorder and the self-image, self-esteem issues that go along with it. She is finally talking about how certain situations and things make her feel, and I am usually blown away at how twisted and convoluted her mind can be. Someone says something and then later in MC it will come up about how she interpreted it totally 180 degrees from how it was said. I have a tough time wrapping my head around that, and it makes me afraid to say anything because she will internally think it is a slight against her and then she will kick her eating disorder into gear. That is without a doubt the toughest part of this, are dealing with her self-esteem issues but still being able to call her bullcrap. She understands and realizes it, and we are certainly communicating better than we ever have. That is not to say we still don't have rough times. We still argue about normal married couple things, and it's hard for me to bite my tongue and not bring up her leaving, filing for divorce, etc. when I am upset. As far as our legal issues, we signed a postnup that separates all of our income and assets. I make significantly more than she does, so I feel secure that I won't get taken to the cleaners. The postnup said that she made untrue statements about abuse, so I was glad that we got that part in there. She had no issues with signing anything. The one problem we have run into is with her job. She has taken 2 tests this summer to get certification in different areas and has went on 4 or 5 interviews at other schools, but she has not been able to get a job at any new school. It has been very tough on us both. She is not looking forward to going back to the same place. She went and talked to her principal this week and told her about her another man and that she would like to not have to interact with him at all. That was a big step for her because secrecy is such a huge part of affairs. I said all along that if she couldn't find a new job that I would rather her stay home for the school year, but as that became reality we had to make a decision. As hard as it is, her not working would be a major strain on our marriage. Of course, working at the same job with other man will put strain as well, but I am confident that she has handled everything the right way leading up to returning to school. I'm sure we will have rough days and that will only elevate the pressure on us. But we are going to try to get through it. As far as my relationship with her family goes, it is pretty much non-existent. After everything that went on last year and her parents' blind defense, I have no desire to have a relationship with them. Her sister was the only one who saw through the bullcrap, but she lives out of town and we don't cross paths often. Her parents call and text her, but she doesn't speak to them much either. She has realized the enabling nature of their relationship, especially with her mother, and she just doesn't have the energy to deal with her nagging all the time. We sat down with her parents in February and my so came clean, and 30 minutes later her mom said that I need to get over it and was back to acting like nothing happened. Duck that I have set some boundaries where I don't deal with that crap anymore. I feel really good about where I am at with all of this. I believe I have successfully detached from her emotionally and am treating her more as a friend than a wife. I don't know what the future holds, and I still have the ability to file for the final divorce once our year of separation is up. She is very aware of this. My therapist calls it the velvet hammer that I can use at any time if she gets off track. It is nice that I have the power to make the decision now, and it is so comforting to know that I will be okay with or without her in my life. When D-Day hit, I thought I would never be able to live without her. What a difference a year almost makes. Another 3 months later, final update. The wife and I are still moving forward and things are in a good place. Trust and verify has become second nature to me, and any little thing that seems odd to me has turned up nothing. It has gotten to the point where I don't think of it much anymore. To her credit, she has gone above and beyond anything I could ever ask her to do in order to prove that there is no hint of infidelity. Thanks to everything I have been through, I can say I have a clear vision of what I will accept and what I won't. The biggest issue facing our marriage right now is her eating disorder. She struggles with it daily and goes in cycles of good weeks and bad weeks. It is very mentally draining and she has to work very hard and stay diligent to keep it from resurfacing. That is very stressful on both of us, and we continue to go to MC a couple times a month to stay on the straight and narrow. Our kids are happy and that makes all of this work seem worth it. I realize that staying together only for their sake isn't healthy for anyone, and we have worked on our marriage and family life in order to keep a strong family unit. My comment: you guys like a good ending or a divorce ending? Was it something you expected? Sub and bell, and I will come back with the next